Okay, thank you. We are live.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the July 20th Town Council meeting. If you will all join me to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, so tonight we are actually going to start out with a presentation from the police department. And just by way of background, August is going to be a safety prevention month, and specifically it will be vehicle car break-in prevention month. And so we are going to give that a nickname of Lock It or Lose It. And so tonight we have our police chief and Sergeant Morgan here to talk about vehicle break-ins specifically. And then as we move into the month of August, we will continue to hopefully educate the public, do some PSAs, some media streams, send out some regular direct mail, and hopefully we can see some of our numbers start to go down, or at a minimum have people more engaged in the community with respect to very simple things that we can be doing to prevent break-ins and becoming a victim. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Chief.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, and good evening, all. Hopefully you can hear me okay. When I had first heard about the Mayor's effort to have Crime Prevention Month for August, specifically Property Crime Prevention Month, we appreciated her efforts, and we're glad to be here tonight to kind of provide a little bit of a backdrop to this whole notion of property crime and get into specifically some of the property crime problems we experience here in Rocky Hill. Property crime probably never really gets its due. What we hear a lot in the media is, violent crime. Obviously, when we talk about violent crime, it's more serious charges generally, creates more sensationalism for the media. But this is a good opportunity to express that property crime is a real problem in this country as well. So when we talk about property crime, going by the FBI's uniform crime reporting system, property crime consists of the crimes of burglary, larceny or theft, either term is fine, motor vehicle theft, and arson, okay? And the object of these thefts or larceny type offenses is the taking of money, the taking of property, but in this case, there's no force used. If there was force or threats used, then they become violent crimes because they're now robberies or extortion. Okay, so when we talk property crimes, those are the crimes we're talking about in general. So I just wanted to throw out some statistics to put some relevancy to all of this. So I was looking at the FBI 2018 uniform crimes. They are the latest. They're always about a year and a half behind. The statistics for 2019 will be out next month. So what I'm giving you right here is the latest information regarding property crime. In 2018, there were 7,196,045 reported property crimes nationwide. And collectively, victims of property crime suffered losses that are estimated at in excess of $16 billion. And when you take those five property crimes, larcenies or theft accounted for 72% of all of them, okay? Also interesting to note that of the larceny thefts that occurred, only 19% are cleared nationally. And then when we look at motor vehicle thefts, only 13% are cleared nationally. So we're going to talk specifically, or Steve is going to talk specifically about larcenies, in general, larcenies from motor vehicles. These are difficult crimes to solve, difficult crimes to make an arrest, but they tend to be very prevalent. And as I stated, out of the property crimes that are tracked by the FBI in Rocky Hill, our problem areas are larceny thefts and motor vehicle thefts. Steve has a lot of experience dealing with these types of crimes, so he's got some additional information he's going to provide at this time.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. So over the past couple of years, there's definitely been an increase with car break-ins, and this is nationwide. This is not simply a Rocky Hill problem. We're seeing this in every town in most states, and there's some recent information that came out of a Connecticut auto theft task force that a lot of people have been thinking that this has been these are crimes conducted by juveniles, which is true. Juveniles are actually the perpetrators in the majority of these crimes. So we're talking about theft from motor vehicle as well as motor vehicle theft, actually stealing cars from people's driveways. And what it was found recently was that these teens are not stealing cars and are not going through cars simply to joyride the cars, which was originally thought of as the reason. There's actually some information out there that there's a network of, we're going to use air quotes, rental cars, that these cars are being rented once they're stolen. So the car's stolen from your driveway. It is brought wherever it's going to be brought, parked in a parking lot. And there's a network of either social media or email back and forth where you can actually rent a stolen car within your area. And these rented cars are being used for anything from shootings, assaults, human trafficking, drug trafficking, and even stealing other cars. So we're seeing that juveniles are a lot of times the perpetrators, which poses a problem with law enforcement as far as juvenile law goes. And even if we're able to catch them in the act and they take off in their car, we have limited reasons to pursue them. We can't pursue the cars. I know a lot of posts out there on social media is asking us, well, why don't you guys just chase them and catch them? Well, it's because we're not allowed to by state statute and Connecticut pursuit policy. We're not really allowed to chase for property crime. So that poses a little bit of a problem. So we know we have a problem. A lot of people have problems. What can we do to combat this problem? And what we're currently doing is the majority of these thefts from motor vehicles and motor vehicle thefts are occurring on the midnight shift. The midnight shift has put the primary emphasis on going out there, hitting the parking lots, hitting the neighborhoods, looking for suspicious activity, looking for those cars that are creeping along with people outside of them. Really trying to get a handle on the middle of the night, people lurking around. What are you doing? So we're going to stop those people. We're going to talk to them if they stop and hopefully solve these crimes. We have plenty of social media engagement out there. We are constantly posting on our social media pages, lock your cars, remove your valuables, lock your cars, remove your valuables. And the number one thing that we can tell you to do is lock your cars and remove the valuables. We are not seeing very many smashed out windows or picked locks, right? We're seeing people walking up, trying the door handle, the car opens, they hop in, they push the button on the car because most cars have key fobs now, right? Keyless start. And guess what? A lot of times the car starts right up and they're able to drive away. So we have the town electric signs that are trying to remind people, lock your cars, remove valuables. That's on a constant loop throughout town at all of our firehouses. We are requesting residents to be vigilant. If you're up in the middle of the night and you see something, say something. Please give us a call. We are only out there. We only have generally 3 police officers working at any given time. So 3 police officers really isn't enough to really cover the amount of space that we need to, especially with these large condominium complexes and apartment complexes we have. We could have a patrol officer patrol Century Hills all night long and still end up with a couple stolen cars and a couple of car break-ins. We have applied to be a part of the Neighbors program through the Ring doorbell. That's an app that gets real-time crime and safety alerts from neighbors and shares it with public safety agencies. Residents can be connected directly with public public safety agencies, which will work out really well for us. The program is currently in the planning stages and will be implemented by the detective division very shortly. We will have more information on that once it becomes available. Currently, we are sending patrol officers to DNA swab training, where we will be able to respond out if a stolen vehicle is recovered in another town or even in our town. We'll be able to send patrol officers out to swab that vehicle, the steering wheel and the handles, for DNA to possibly catch the perpetrators after the fact. So that's also something that's in the works to try to combat these vehicle break-ins. So again, that will be contingent on having enough staffing to be able to send the patrol officer out. If we only have 3 patrol officers working in town, we're probably not sending one to Hartford, East Hartford, Meriden, wherever to process a car for possible evidence. We're probably going to keep that officer in town. So many times the vehicles are being recovered outside of Rocky Hill. So that's something else we have to kind of contend with. So as for tips for the community, we are consistent with this message. Always, always lock your car. If you park your car for the night, hit the lock button. That's the biggest way you can prevent yourself from becoming a victim of this crime. These are crimes of opportunity, right? So we've seen countless videos from people's cameras, people's Ring doorbells of how this is done. A car pulls up. You've probably all seen them on social media. A car pulls up, a few people jump out, and they just start trying door handles on every car that's in the area. If one opens, that person becomes a victim. If the car is locked, that person doesn't become a victim. So the number one thing to do, lock your cars. If you have an alarm, arm that alarm. If it goes off, generally that might scare off the perpetrator. Never leave valuables inside your car. Think about it. If you leave something valuable inside your car, it's right there out in the open on the street or in your driveway for someone to come and take. So if they're able to see the valuable, they may smash your window and take it, right? I'm not even saying that locking it in the trunk is good enough. If something's valuable and means something to you, bring it inside for the night. It's simple. Don't leave it in your car. Never leave your keys in your vehicle. This is another big one for stolen cars. If you leave your keys in your vehicle and your vehicle unlocked, your car more than likely will be stolen at some point. It's just not a good practice to do. So take your keys out of your car and bring them inside. If you bring them inside, make sure you bring them far enough away from your vehicle so the car won't start from the key being inside your garage. Take them inside for the night. Put them on your bedside table or your counter. Another one that a lot of people don't think of is the little garage door openers that you have tucked into your visor. If someone is able to get into your car and they hit the garage door button, they can also have access to your house. So that's another important one to consider. If you do have the garage door opener that slides onto your visor, consider locking that into your glove box as well, or bringing that inside for the night. That way, if your car does end up getting broken into, they won't have access to your house just by pushing a button, something very simple. We recommend parking your vehicles in a well-lit area. So if you have access to parking your car near a motion light or leaving your lights on from dusk till dawn, that way your car is lit up all night. The perpetrators would have less likelihood of getting into your car under the cover of darkness. If you do live in an apartment complex or a lighting in the area, the safety lighting, we recommend that you politic to your management company and say you would like more safety lighting for your parking lot. Let's light these parking lots up nice and bright for the nighttime. That way the criminals don't feel as comfortable going into those parking lots and committing these crimes. If you're able to, we like to see installing exterior video that is tripped by motion. So I personally have the Arlo system, cameras all over my house. And if there's any motion detected outside of the house, I get an alert on my phone. Phone goes off in the middle of the night. I wake up and I see what's going on, and I'm able to, more than likely I'll see a raccoon or a squirrel or a possum, but if there is somebody out there, you'll be able to see them in real time and notify the police. Do not approach suspicious suspects on your own. We are out here 24/7. So if you do see something suspicious, we ask that you call us. You can use our routine line, or you can use 911 if you think that it's an emergency. But call us. That's what we do. That's why we're here. Don't approach these people on your own. Kind of be vigilant, but also be safe. So don't report this to social media at 3 o'clock in the morning, because nobody's monitoring social media 24/7. We do get a lot of messages on Facebook saying, it's 2:30 in the morning and this is what I'm seeing right now. Nobody's reading that for probably several hours after the fact. So reporting things to social media really doesn't do anything. Please call us. That's what we're here for. Social media should be utilized for sharing information, not reporting information. So those are some simple tips that we can take going into the month of August for the Lock It or Lose It campaign. If everybody can just get together and start sharing this idea of locking your cars and taking your valuables out, we're going to see a downtrend in motor vehicle theft and theft from motor vehicle. I do have a couple of statistics from past years that I can go over, just giving you an idea of where we're at as a town as far as thefts from motor vehicles and stolen motor vehicles. So going back to 2017, we had 162 thefts from motor vehicles reported, and we had 44 stolen motor vehicle complaints. 2018, we had 138 theft from motor vehicles and 38 stolen motor vehicle complaints. In 2019, we had 120 thefts from motor vehicles and 27 motor vehicle stolen motor vehicle complaints. And in 2020, so far, from January 1st until 10:50 a.m. today, we've had 61 thefts from motor vehicles and 21 stolen motor vehicle complaints. So 2020 is looking to be actually right on par with the rest of the years from 2017. So that's the information that I have regarding the theft from motor vehicles and stolen motor vehicles. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain some.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Does anyone have any questions, any comments? So I think it was very informative. I think it's a great way to kick off our campaign. And I just want to say, in light of everything that's happening around the nation, specifically with our COVID-19 pandemic and the important questions that are being raised about relationships between some law enforcement and their communities, I do feel very grateful for the efforts that you put in here in Rocky Hill, and especially your community policing efforts, and also that you continue to improve, Chief, and you look for ways to improve, which is evidenced by your hard work and commitment to getting nationally accredited. So that speaks volumes to your commitment to our community, and for that I'm thankful. I do know that safe and caring communities are everyone's responsibility. So you sharing this information with us this evening is a good way for us to start chipping away at the break-ins. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right, so I guess we will move forward then. We will move to public comment. And this portion of the meeting is specifically set aside for comment from the public, who are asked to limit their comments to 2 minutes. Any person interested in providing public comment should email publicmeetings@rockyhillct.gov. You will be provided with a link to attend the Zoom remote meeting and instructions on how you will participate. And I'm seeing in our chat box that we do not have any participants this evening, so we will continue with our agenda. Appointments and resignations. Mr. Duff, would you like to start that?
Yeah, we do have an opening on our Planning and Zoning Commission. However, we have an alternate who will be filling in the role as the regular member until we come up with a recommend for a new member to fill out that committee.
Okay, thank you.
We have no appointments or resignations at this time.
Thank you. We do have a clarification, though, just for purposes of the Planning and Zoning Commission being able to run its business. So we had an appointment of Giuseppe Aglico, maybe last meeting or the meeting prior to P&Z. We just want to clarify on the record that Mr. Aglico will be an alternate, and that Mr. Zarilli, who is already on the board but serving as on the commission, serving as an alternate, will now take the regular member position since Mr. Morse has resigned. So hopefully they can conduct business now. Okay. Moving on to the approval of minutes. Budget workshop, May 12th, 2020. I presume everyone's had opportunity to read those minutes. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the budget workshop minutes from May 12th, 2020.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion? Alan? Oh, I thought you were raising your hand for discussion.
No, that was for the second.
Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, how about the budget workshop, May 14th, 2020?
I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the minutes from the budget workshop, May 14th, 2020 meeting.
Okay.
I'll
Second?
second.
Okay, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then finally, the town council meeting, June 15th, 2020.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the town council meeting from June 15th, 2020.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Moving on to subcommittees, is there a finance report this evening?
I do have a finance report. The finance committee did meet. The first item, which is on our consent agenda this evening, soft recyclables, also known as the pink bag program, is no longer able to make the monthly fee payment for goods that they pick up. The finance committee discussed it, and however, we're receiving such a small amount of money for this program, we thought it was good just to continue to keep items out of our waste stream. And since we're in the neighborhood of an $80+ tipping fee, at least that gets removed from the waste stream. So that will be coming up on the consent agenda. Also, the town issued bans in the amount of $11,350,000 for a couple of the projects we have ongoing, the closeout of the Rocky Hill High School, the road project, and I'm skipping what the third item was, I apologize. But the Jeffries was the low bidder on the project at an interest rate of 0.5443. And as part of the issue, the town will be receiving a bond premium of $108,165. So nice to see that there's some activity and people are interested in investing in the bands that we were issuing. Also, the Board of Education, as discussed during our budget workshop, returned to the town $829,000, which will be applied to our fund balance. I believe there was one other, the other item that's on the consent agenda is our budget transfers this evening. And they were just monies that were applied in certain areas that we did not use in the current year. So we'll be putting into the non-recurring account to be used in the upcoming fiscal year. So those are our two consent agenda items. The last item, and of course, these are subject to our year-end audit. Revenue for the year fell $585,000 short of budget. However, our expenses were under budget by $1,615,000. So roughly, we're about $1 million in the black. However, that's subject to last invoices coming in, and of course, the year-end audit. And that concludes the finance report.
All right, well, you guys were busy. Government ops, do you have a report?
Yes, government operations met on Monday, July 6th. Fairly brief meeting. We did not have any bills to approve. Probably the biggest thing, well, we got update on some of the facilities and things that just some maintenance things going on since we last met earlier in the year. The biggest thing is the high school front steps. The project's moving along timely, and John, unless something's changed, should be well on its way to being on schedule in time for the upcoming start of this fall school year. So, and that's really probably the major bit of news that came out of that meeting.
Okay, awesome. Moving on to public safety, is there a report?
For public safety met earlier this evening, and we have to report that the Central Health District reported that cautiously optimistic report in that in Rocky Hill we're consistent with the state in that we're about a 0.71 rate of transmission, although it has ticked up to 0.99 just recently, rate of transmission. But anything below 1 is what they want. All other states are by comparison, are in the average of 1.5 to 1.7 rate of transmission still. So Connecticut's in good shape, and we should just try to maintain our hygiene practices and not get hygiene fatigue, as you like to call it, Mayor. They are seeing a little bit of an uptick in infections in the ages of 20 to 29 band and 30 to 39 age group, while our nursing homes have stopped having so many cases and reported deaths. So that is good news for our assisted living and nursing home community here in Rocky Hill. As for the fire department, they have seen an uptick in calls. Because there are no buildings offline in terms of storm damage or other items. I mean, there's been no cooling center triggered with the current heating, humidity, temperatures we have. But we did discuss that, but there are no cooling centers triggered at this point. There's only one resignation. The fire department is at 72 with 68 active. They have restarted their recruiting process because the state and the pre-employment physical program has been brought back online. Weekly training is now back for the fire department. Again, subject to state guidelines, which they're working on. And this in training and testing has resumed again. And they are doing away with their foam PFAS equipment and are onto the new foam. So that is all good. No fires in the call, and their call rate, which so far 37 incidences to respond to. For the police department, calls were down in June. So they actually saw a little bit of a downtick, and they don't know what caused that. Department is running at almost full staffing. So total staff is 51. If they're all filled, one vacancy, but they do have an offer out to an officer from Hartford. We have 50, 38 are certified officers and 30 are civilian in the entire department. As you mentioned, Mayor, the accreditation call comes in on July 31st, somewhere between 1 and 4, and we await that with anticipation of getting the accreditation. No COVID cases in the department. One retirement scheduled to come up. 3 officers in field training should be online for patrol shortly. 2 officers coming out of the academy and will be heading into training, and 1 dispatcher in training coming out shortly. As for the ambulance, 269 calls for the month, not seeing any particular spikes. 77 people on staff they're holding. They lost 1, but they're able to hire back. So they report all's well in the ambulance and emergency EMT. Next meeting is scheduled for August 18th at 5:30. And that's the end of the report.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Duff.
Yeah, I just had a question to Councilor Sharma. There was a lot of consternation the last weeks, maybe earlier this month, around fireworks. I don't know if that came up on public safety. It felt like people were complaining about it for about 3 weeks. I don't know if you guys heard about it. It seems like it's died down, so it could have just been all the fireworks popping up in stores around 4th of July. But I don't know if that came up or during public safety, or if they had any thoughts about that.
I could ask for the next meeting. I'll make a note, but no, fireworks did not come up in the last several meetings.
Thanks.
No, unfortunately, Chris, no.
Well, and thankfully, no fireworks-related accidents. That's I think one of the main things you want to worry about as well, especially people getting a hold of them if they've been drinking or if they're kids. Bad situation. Thanks.
Good point. Good point. Okay, moving on. Senior liaison, is there a report?
Just a brief report. Senior liaison did meet. Some of the items that were discussed have already expired. The ARP tax program, the filing deadline was July 15th, so that's already passed us. The one piece of information is seniors that want to apply for the renter rebate program. There is a drop box at Town Hall for Human Services. That program is still ongoing through the COVID-19 epidemic, and anybody that needs assistance can call Human Services to assistance in filing for that program. And just on a programming note, the Human Services and Senior Department is working on some virtual exercise programs. Our meeting was almost a month ago, so I don't know if those have kicked off at this point, but they are trying to do what they can remotely to get programs off and going. And the only other item is our meeting for Monday, the 27th has been canceled. There was no agenda for that meeting.
And we should probably thank Mr. Greenspan because he's coming to us live from his vacation hotel. So thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
With the glowing tan.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to land acquisition and farmland preservation. Is there a report for that?
Sure. We met earlier tonight to get a report from Ray Carpentino. And so there is a finished lease in our, I guess it's our old business for council's consideration. So that lease has been tweaked, and I believe is something that all the farmers would be willing to sign if council approves it tonight in that section of the agenda. The NRCS Ray reports has really moved along quickly. This is the organization that is setting the standards for soil conservation and erosion, and all the farmers seem to be responding thus far to their requirements for us to meet their guidelines, which the town does want them to do. And parcel B clean out. Town has reached out to Mr. Streska's attorney to find out what their plans are to meet the deadline of September 24th, which is fast approaching, where that parcel should be cleared out, or the town has options under the agreement to go in and start spending money to clean up parcel B. It was reported that parcel B does not interfere with any of the farmers moving forward with cleaning up their parcels now. So to the extent that the lease is approved, the farmers can then begin moving forward on their parcels. And parcel B is just a separate issue for us to deal with. We have no reason to believe that we have an issue, but it does not impede the farmers, and that's according to Ray Carpentino. Mayor, you had a special item in the steep grant area for the farm. Do you want to present that or wait till that section?
No, we'll wait and let John handle.
Very good.
So we have
The
some
next-
photos, right?
The next meeting is August 17th at 6:15. That concludes the report.
Wonderful. I can't believe it's almost September 24th that we're going to have that. We're ready for that discussion almost. Time flies. Liaison to the state rep and to the state senator.
There's no report there. I had a quick discussion with the police chief just to kind of chat about the upcoming legislation regarding that the governor is calling a special session on, and we're watching that closely. And I do think that Representative Kerry Wood is concerned about that special session, but otherwise no reports from them regarding that.
Okay, thank you. School liaison, is there a report?
Yeah, no report, Madam Mayor. The school liaison committee did not meet, but Madam Mayor, if I can, I would like to take this opportunity to actually bring to everyone's attention, this issue of schools reopening, right, in fall. And if you are a parent or a guardian of school-age children in Rocky Hill, this afternoon you would have received an email survey from Dr. Mark Zito, who is a school superintendent. And what I'd like to do here is take this opportunity, this public forum, to encourage everyone who received that email and received that survey to fill out that survey and respond to it as soon as possible, because not only it will help to get your voice out there on this important issue, but also even more importantly, if I may say, that it will help the school superintendent and the Board of Ed to collect very important data to make an informed decision about school reopening in fall. So that's what I wanted to bring attention to, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that.
Wonderful, thank you for sharing that. And then finally, Economic Development Subcommittee.
Madam Mayor, I think we had Councilor Duff had a question on the last report.
I just wanted to clarify, was there a end date to when that survey needs to be in for, and how do people find it?
Yeah, so the last question first, Chris. So it should be in the email, in your mailbox if you have a school-age child. And for the second one, I don't think it has any drop dead dates on it, but I'm hearing that the Board of Education is in the process of developing plans, several plans, alternate plans, and so the sooner they probably get it, the better it will be, probably, right? Because I don't think it's going to go on for several weeks. That's my informed guess, I guess. There's no drop dead date on that, as far as I remember.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now Economic Development Subcommittee.
No meeting, no report.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the consent agenda. A, as Alan mentioned, change order guidelines, community senior centered project.
Do we just have to make a motion to approve the entire consent agenda? Because I believe
We could do a motion to approve the entire consent agenda, deleting letter B, because that one is not ready yet. But we can just do a motion to do that.
Will I make a motion to delete item B, approval of job description, assistant finance director? It's still in my agenda.
Yes, it is. So we're going to do a motion to approve the consent agenda, excuse me, which would include the deletion of B, as B is not ready yet.
It should be two separate motions, one deleting and then one approving the rest of the agenda.
We could do that. Sure. Okay.
So you need someone to
So you want to
second
do that?
Ed?
Ed, do you want to do that?
Alan?
Sure. I'll make a motion to remove item B, approval job description, finance director from the consent agenda.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then part 2.
I'll make a motion to approve items A. I guess the 3 items on the consent agenda, the change order guidelines, the contract for soft recyclables, and the budgetary transfers for capital improvements.
Okay,
Second?
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and thank you, John Emmanuel, for clearing that up. Moving to old business. A, discussion, possible action, community/senior center.
Thank you. Got a brief update on the construction project of the community/senior center. They finished the exterior footings and foundations. They've been poured and installed. They're starting the installation of the foundation, interior and exterior this week, and they've done backfilling the walls at the exterior and interior beginning this Wednesday. Doing site preparations relating to the interior piers. Contractor will be starting on the stormwater system next week. That fence line that you see between the construction site and fire station 1, that's going to be moved back for 10 days starting on the 7th, and that's to allow the contractor to put in the stormwater system. And this was coordinated through the fire department. On the 31st, they're going to start moving that transformer that's near the library. Most likely they're going to be closing Church Street around 7:30 a.m. Begin the work to start moving that transformer, and the road should be reopened and paved by the end of the day. And then they're going to have to do some additional work on that power feed in August, on August 3rd, and that would be completed that day and should finish that move. The gazebo is currently sitting in the parking lot. That will be moved to its new location closer to the fire museum once the concrete and work is done. And in the August, be putting in the exterior fiber optics conduits. That also, we talked about a year ago to Hartford Foundation about providing a grant to the town associated with the exercise equipment. They basically said to give them a call when we start construction because it would fall in closer to that years of of grants. Ray and I did contact them last week. We were notified that the Hartford Foundation has put a moratorium on project-focused grants, and they've just been focusing on nonprofits. So most likely there's no chance to get a grant from Hartford Foundation as we originally hoped for that exercise equipment. And
John,
senior center.
question, John.
Yes.
The Hartford Foundation for Public Giving moratorium is, was that under the 100,000 in the seed money for the town? Is that under that committee, or is this separately?
It's separate.
Okay.
John, do we have a updated time frame for when we might do that beam signing with the last when the last steel goes up?
Don't have a specific time yet. but they are working on it to see from a construction standpoint what's going to be the last beam going up. So I would at least say it's minimum a month away.
Thanks.
John, do we have an update on when they may have the color samples and the sample furniture? Have you heard anything from the contractors?
No, I haven't heard any Zoom meeting last week.
Okay, if there's nothing further, we'll move on to B, discussion possible action authorization to sign the leases with the 3 farmers to farm Straska property.
I'll start. In package, you have Ray prepared a copy of the base lease for the 3 farmers, as well as key pages associated with the other 2 farmers. We met with the farmers last week, and they seem quite content with the lease agreement. And Ray made a few adjustments to the lease associated with comments made by our insurance carrier, Kerma. One thing we did remove from there is the umbrella policy. Basically, at the start of this project, we feel that it's not really necessary to require them to carry that type of coverage. So we're looking for approval by the town council of these lease agreements so that we can finalize it with the 3 farmers in the coming week or so. Ray, anything to add I missed?
Ditto, John. Nope, you covered it.
Thanks, Ray. All right, shall we entertain a motion for the authorization to sign?
Sure, I'll make a motion to accept the lease as drafted by town staff and town legal.
Okay, second. Thank you, Mimi. Mimi threw her hand up. I'm calling on her. All right, discussion.
Sorry, my mute button was on.
Okay. Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Wonderful. Wonderful to see that going forward. Okay. And then finally, moving on to new business. Discussion, possible action, authorization to apply for a STEEP grant.
Ray, you want to take this one?
Sure, unless the mayor would like to. Just a quick introduction. STEEP, Small Town Economic Assistance Program, has been been around for 20 years or more. They halted the program a few years ago, and almost every small town, 30,000 or less, has been waiting for the program to come out. They announced that they will be coming out, and sometime around maybe a week and a half ago, and they did not come out with the program guidelines until I think it was Thursday or Friday of last week. This round, the maximum grant is $128,205, and it was in the past up to $500,000. So the amount has been drastically reduced, and the timeline has been drastically reduced. The grant is due August 14th. So based on the small amount of funds available and also on the very short timeline, we were trying to figure out what to do with this money. And I think, was it you, Mayor, who had the idea? Since we have the Straska Farm project moving, maybe we can look at constructing a barn-type facility on parcel B, or maybe some additional structures, if depending on the cost, to be utilized by the town for a number of different agricultural uses, including maybe even instruction, classroom-type instruction. And so here we are with a draft resolution for you to look at and consider. I think that's about it. I mean, that's all I have to say right now as far as the details of the project. We were really looking at more of a prefab type structure that quite a few Connecticut companies offer. Beyond that, there are no details yet as far as how I put this application together.
Okay, thank you, Ray. So I will entertain a motion for authorization.
I'll
I'd
make
like to make a motion to authorize this resolution to have the town staff apply for the steep grant, specifically for the barn for the Straska farm.
I'll second.
And second?
Second.
Okay. And discussion.
I think it's important to know, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ray, that you mentioned there's no, as in the past, the steep grants required matching funds from the town, but we do not have to match at this current time?
No, actually, in the past, they did not require matches, but this time around, they are requiring a match. And I had inquired, I asked, well, how, what are the guidelines for that? And they have indicated that there is no minimum or maximum, but the town does have to put something in. And so I will joyfully put in that space that the town is or has already contributed $7 million towards this project in the purchase of the property, which is an eligible match requirement, or allowance, I should say. So we've already come up with a match.
Ray, I have a quick question for this response. What is the timeline on this, the process from end to end? And second, what is the success rate on these kind of things, these kind of grants for the town in particular, and maybe generally, like what's the grant rate, I guess?
If chosen, the awards will be announced. The state says maybe mid-September, and then there is a time lag between the announcement and actual getting the assistance agreement to the town, which could be a month, possibly, hopefully. The town, Rocky Hill, has received, I believe, 6 steep grants in the past. 2 of them were for the maximum 500,000. The rest, the others were for a couple of them were for 200,000. I think one was for 400,000 and change. The state this time around, the state is anxious, I believe, to expend the money. It's hard to say how much you would get. So that's the if. I'm pretty sure we will get some, but we don't know how much we will get until they make the announcement. So we're asking for the maximum. I have to show in a budget how much actually the project will cost, so it may be less than the maximum.
Yeah, I mean that's great to know that. Yeah.
And also just one more thing, the project. They're allowing the town to take up to 2 years to complete the project, and they're also allowing the town to ask for an extension up for an additional year. So we could have 3 years of project time to complete the project, which hopefully we do not need.
Good, excellent. I was just wondering like what the rate of success looks like. It looks like that you're pretty confident in this. I mean, it's a question of like how much as opposed to if, right? And that is.
I never want to get too hopeful with grants because you never know. But all in all, we're pretty good, and hopefully we will do fairly well.
By the way, what is the role of the state rep and the state senator in this? Is there any role, or is it all town dependent rather?
Yeah, typically we ask, or we'll draft a letter or ask for a letter from our state rep and senator, for support, and that gets a copy of that gets inserted into the application package. And also in the past, we've asked for letters from other town commissioners, from Parks and Rec and other in economic development. So, as many support letters as we can get would be very helpful.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is it's everybody else's pro forma. It all depends on you, Ray. So a lot of no pressure, I guess.
I'm going on a very long vacation soon.
Hey, Ray, I see you included some schematics of barns. That's for this discussion, right?
Yeah, just the town councilors received those.
So would you
from three different companies?
Would you
just
be
as an
coming back
example
to us to kind of, if you did get the 120 or over 100,000, you could go a number of ways with a couple of smaller good-sized barns, or you could go with one larger, really nice barn, but don't go with the horse stables.
Yeah, there's not much coverage there.
Yeah, Ed, I'd like to make a recommendation that when we get to the point of reviewing barns, that it goes through farmland first.
I would agree with, I think that's a great suggestion, yeah.
Because you got the farmers there.
Could you say that again, John?
Yeah, and when it comes time to review barns and dimensions and all that stuff, that it goes through the farmland committee first.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
We wouldn't necessarily be tied into a prefab, though. Let's say if we got the whole amount, we could, if we wanted to custom build one, we could do that as well. We wouldn't be tied in necessarily.
No, we would not be tied in.
And if I'm correct, the purpose of this would be, I guess there's a lot of details to figure out, but the purpose of this item would be putting it on parcel B for use by the town and not by the farmers, or not solely by the farmers.
Parcel B is the town section where we will do hopefully, the community gardens, the education, whatever the town chooses to do in parcel B. That's like the primary town plot for the farm. So there are a number of things that need to be done before the barn can actually be constructed, but we have the 2 to 3 year timeline to do that.
And one thing to keep in there, Ray, too, is in the future, if the farmers market moves from Ferry Park to that location, that any structure can accommodate that.
Right, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Now, also, just remember that we have to accommodate also for electricity and plumbing and finished product on the interior too.
Could we use a, and maybe there's a different grant program for that, but, in thinking of the community gardens that we're imagining in the future, they're not going to work unless we can get water nearby. I guess depending on where the barn goes, maybe you get water from the barn, but that, I don't know if that could be, part of that or a well, but something to think of, maybe to include within the scope of the project if it's possible. Because if people got to schlep water from somewhere, there's going to be a lot of dried up tomato plants in a community garden.
Yeah, that can probably be maybe in a second phase of parcel B for the project. I don't know if there'll be enough money to do a structure and water, and we can't match this grant with other state or federal money, but we can do a separate project standing alone from the STEEP project, which would be a phase 2 or phase 3.
Picking up on John Emmanuel's comment about the farmers market. So, yeah, I didn't see anything in the lease or anything, but I'm assuming all those 3 farmers support the farmers market in town, correct, Ray?
I don't know. It's not a requirement in the lease. So no, it is not a requirement.
John, do you
That's
remember
really-
anything to that effect?
It's not, yeah, it's not part of that the parcels that are leased out, Ed. So this is just the town portion that's open for the community. I'm just assuming that down the road, the farmer's market may want to relocate to this since it's around a farm instead of Ferry Park. That's all.
And thank you, Ray, for the clarification. So are we ready to move on to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Perfect. Okay. Quickly, let's move on to the mayor's report. And I want to just call your attention very quickly to what's going on at the state level. Because, I feel strongly about us having a seat at the table whenever we can. And so this Thursday, I think Councilor Sharma alluded somewhat to it. Legislators are going to vote on a new proposal that's entitled Police Accountability. And if that passes, it will become law in October. So this is a massive reform bill. It will have a significant impact on taxpayers, on law enforcement, and on municipalities. And there are a number of complex issues that are raised by this bill. So to this end, I would encourage all of you, if you have any questions or comments or concerns, that you would reach out to our state representative, Carrie Wood. I have been in contact with Carrie, and what she likes to say, she's on her listening tour. So she would love to hear from you guys because she needs to vote this Thursday. Also tomorrow morning, as part of our legislative committee meeting, the town manager and I will be attending with members of the Judiciary Committee who are invited for the specific purpose of informing municipalities about this proposal. And if you want to see what the proposal looks like, you can go to cga.ct.gov to look at the draft legislation. Very quickly, in a nutshell, I think it is a lot to process for anyone who is involved. I think if they can break it apart, it would be more reasonable. That's going to be my suggestion anyway, because I don't think looking at this, debating it, and being able to pass it by Thursday is really a reasonable endeavor, irrespective of the premise behind it. So again, reach out to Carrie Wood. The state is also contemplating significant zoning reform, but in speaking with Carrie, she is not anticipating seeing that draft legislation until sometime in September. So we will keep you posted. I'm actually thinking maybe next meeting, I know we don't meet that much in the summer, but we may have Carrie come out and give us a briefing as to what happened with police accountability and what to anticipate with respect to zoning, because those certainly will have an impact on us. And then one of the last things at the state level that has a direct impact on us is MURA. And as you know, garbage is a really big issue, continues to be a big issue. The town manager and I met again with DEEP Commissioner, MURA Chair, and a few other municipalities to talk about waste management solutions for municipal solid waste. And if you recall, the council was not in favor of consenting to the rate increases that MURA was asking of the 55 towns which belong to it. Obviously, Rocky Hill is one of those towns because we can't sustain those type of rate increases, but we do need to look for solutions. We know at this time the governor has come out and declared he's not going to subsidize an upgrade to the facility, which would be $330 million. So we really have to work together and collaboratively to try to find some solutions, both short-term and long-term. And so it's important that we have a seat at that table. And so that's what we are working on as well. Let's see, switching gears to schools for a very brief minute. I want to thank all of you who have reached out to the town council with your questions and your comments, as well as your concerns. I'm glad to see that a survey has gone out, and I encourage all of you to participate in that, as Councilor Prakash has asked. I also believe the town manager may have some meeting information for you. I did reach out to Board of Ed Chair today to get you a very quick update. And he told me that they have started their reopening plan process as directed by the State Department of Education. It will convene a series of stakeholder meetings and outreach efforts over the next 4 to 6 weeks. So the Board of Education wants to get your input. And they also want to establish the policies and procedures that they're going to need for the upcoming school year. And they ask that you be mindful that there are still limitations on public gatherings indoors. And so the number of people who could actually attend an indoor meeting physically in person, of course, is going to be dependent upon where we are in terms of reopening. And then finally, if you want to check out the website, www.rockyhillct.gov, there are a lot of fun things happening this month. There's the farmer's market. There is Frisbee golf, which is also glow in the dark. It looks super cool. And then the drive-in movies and at the high school faculty parking lot. And that's about that. And I will turn it over now to John Mayer, Town Manager.
John, you're muted.
Just to follow up on the school meetings, I believe the Board of Ed's going to have a special meeting this Thursday, the 27th, to discuss the opening of the schools. I don't believe an agenda has been posted yet, but I do believe the meeting is going to occur this Thursday. It might be at Mosier School. In your packet, I received, the town received a flyer from Weathersfield relating to about a meeting this Thursday to talk about the Great Meadows and I guess the status of a Putnam Bridge bike trail. About as much as I know about it is on this piece of paper, but if anyone's interested, they could RSVP to that website and hopefully get additional information about tuning into this meeting on July 23rd at 6:30. The registered voters sent out postcards relating to the changing of the District 2 polling place. In the past, it's always used to be at the Community Senior Center Gymnasium, but due to the construction this year, it's going to be moved to Mosier School. So that includes the August 11th primary, as well as the November 3rd general election. So again, the postcards were sent to notify people of the new location to vote. They'll start paving this Thursday. I noticed in the paper that the bond commission is meeting tomorrow, Tuesday, and included on the agenda is money for town road aid. So it looks encouraging that the town might receive its on its normal date, usually at the end of July. Also today in the mail, we received from Kermer our members equity distribution check relating to the insurance policy. And this year the check was $20,464. And just to repeat what the mayor said, there will be a farmer's market on the 29th next from 4 to 7 Ferry Park. And again, tomorrow they got the ultimate Frisbee, and Friday there'll be the second drive-in movie. You need to pre-register for the drive-in movie beforehand. And that's it for me.
Thanks, John. I just have two things. Chris, do you want to comment any more on Great Meadows? Are you part of that? For some reason, I'm thinking that you're part of that. Did you want to add any details or information about that meeting?
So that is, so it's not sponsored by the land trust. I believe it is a, I believe there is a question about working with the state to improve the bike and pedestrian access across the bridge over the river and like hooking into a trail system on either side. So it's not something the land trust was associated with. I believe they support it. But this is more of an informational session, I think, about how that's going to work with the town of Weathersfield and potentially state entities as well.
Okay. And did you have your hand up to say something?
I did. I think I'm cutting Councilor Levine off, but I was just going to ask John. So the last time we met, I think we were talking about town hall opening up to the public again. And how's that going?
So good. I haven't heard anybody complaining about having to wear a mask and so on. And other than that, things have been running kind of smooth for a change.
Jeff Levine, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, just real quick on that. I know this came from the town of Weathersfield about the virtual meeting for the Great Meadows, but there's a typo in the RSVP email address. So if you see that or click on it, it's not going to work. It's missing the letter D in Weathersfield. So it just retype it out if you do it. Planning comments at weathersfieldct.gov.
Good catch. Pankaj, did you have your hand up? No. Okay. John, is there a list of a schedule, I guess, of the streets that are going to be paved and when they're going to be paved that the residents can access?
I believe there is a list. I'm not sure whether it's posted to the website, but if not, we can get something posted to the website on the street paving schedule for the coming weeks.
And that'd be perfect. Thank you. Go ahead, Ed.
I was just wondering about the John, the streetscape on Silestine. Looks like they've got it marked, but are they going to start soon?
I think the engineers, I think I saw even MDC there, is really just laying out the markings for them to start. I don't know if Ray is still here, if he knows any better timing of when they might start actual construction. I don't know that date.
Yeah. Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, because I can't hear myself. I don't have the date, but I know they've been out there quite a bit marking all of the utility locations and layout for some of the drain, well, not the drainage, but for the sidewalk areas and the easements that we had to, or the slope rights we had to obtain over the suburb. So I guess the answer to your question is no. I don't have the exact date as to when they might start, but they've started. It starts out pretty slowly, but then all of a sudden you'll see excavator contractors out there pretty soon, because the deadline for this to be finished, is approaching quickly.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? All right, well, we will not be seeing you until Monday, August 17th. So it's a month away. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Your mic's off, Jeff. All right, second.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Stay safe.